Welcome to Pulse of Tech by SEEP, Pune's leading technology podcast from SEEP, the city's premier platform for tech organizations, delivering cutting-edge discussions and insights.
Hello, welcome to Pulse of Tech by SEEP. In our previous episodes, we have spoken about data and AI, cybersecurity, LLMs, and 5G networks, and much more. Today, we have a distinct pleasure of talking to one of the true visionaries in the Indian analytics tech landscape. He is an AI tech strategist and the founder of Intelligent Technologies in 2004 and Rubiscape in 2020, where they have built India's first data and machine learning product to democratize data science. Let's welcome Dr. Prashant Pansare. So, welcome Prashant. So the first question which I usually ask every speaker on this podcast, because it is connected to SEEP and the Pune software ecosystem, is how have you seen Pune's tech industry evolve over all these years? You've been a part of this industry like nearly 2 decades now, and how has that shaped your journey?
Sure. Thank you, Namaskar, and hello all Punekars and SEEP Pune Pulse Tech. Thank you for having me here. It's an absolutely pleasure and delight. Your question takes me back almost 2 decades, and when I look at industry at that time, and specifically Pune or Indian landscape, we were mainly into the IT services and back office operations for global companies. And what we were doing was only doing some incremental value addition for them as their extended offshore arms or maybe on-site service providers. From there, now when we look at how the ecosystem has evolved, and particularly the rise of digital India, the rise of innovation to product startups that are happening in India and in Pune, that is quite heartening. And Pune is already one of the biggest tech product startup hubs nationally, and aspiring to take the software exports not only from the services but also from the product business is growing quite steep. So this journey has been quite evolving and enriching when we look at how it has also created opportunities, and specifically for me, I would say that I'm an accidental entrepreneur. It was not by design, but it was maybe by destiny. And few things, when actually they happen in your life or in your career, it actually gives you an action trigger. So probably I was good enough to capture that moment and turn from a IT professional to an first generation entrepreneur.
Okay.
And analytics was something that was really doing inner calling. So I decided to be in the data business, and that is what I have been doing for last 2 decades.
Okay. That brings me to a very important question. How did it evolve into, being a founder of 2 data analytic companies like Rubiscape and Intelligent? So how did your journey evolve to that?
Absolutely. So when we wanted to do more innovation and more value addition in the market, sometimes what happens, your corporate job may not give you those opportunities, and I always say that sometimes your wings are clamped and you are expected to fly. But if you really have passion for soaring high, you need freedom, you need an autonomy, and corporate jobs will actually just give you the framework. At times they will spoil your appetite, risk appetite for entrepreneurial journey. So I decided to escape myself and be in the data business, as I mentioned earlier. And data business is very interesting, right? Because we do more of digitalization or automation. What we end up doing is generate more data.
Correct.
Whether it is structured or unstructured, and today data is everywhere.
Yeah.
So I could see that potential in early 2000s, and when I set up Intelligent as a bootstrapped company from Pune, from India, we envisage our business model to work as an extended arm, or how can we help our customers shift their business to a knowledge business.
Okay.
And knowledge business mainly into how the strategists, how business leaders do their decision making, how they access, analyze, process data, how they aspire to gain dollars from their decisions, and that was basically the crux of this data business.
Okay.
In our early days, I still remember that when I started or bootstrapped Intelement from my study room and hiring from a first employee of the company, and then signing up some initial customers who still happens to be with us, right?
Okay.
So our longest customer is one of the American company that has been with us for more than 20 years now. So when you have something substantial to offer to the market, and when you place yourself, your business model right well with your customer business model, then that coexistence is like a lifetime relationship, a perfect marriage.
Yeah, I mean, you spoke about like 20 years with a client now, right? And I mean, you found that company and you've been running that company without any external funding. How has that journey been?
Okay, actually that reminds me of one of the blog as a message to my team, and on my blog I wrote is that things that are more important than capital for setting up a company and scaling it up. Of course you need a financial capital to scale up, but what is even more important is that rather than chasing valuations, how can you create a value?
Yes.
Create a value for customers, create a value for markets, and that will create a lasting impact. So if I have to give you an Indian mythological example, the way we envisaged our data business is that if your customer is king, if they are bachas, how can you be their birbals? And how can you give them,
so provide them insights is basically what
absolutely. And the way we look at this business is providing them from insights to foresights. So insights will actually help you in analyzing the past and mastering the present. But if you have an ability to help your customer's business predict the future and improve the future, then you are into a real value creation game. You are not only doing that headcount based incremental value addition services.
Yeah, I mean, you spoke about headcount, and I've read somewhere in one of your articles, you talk about brain count more than headcount. What does that mean for us, usual public, to understand what does that mean, right?
Well, that reminds me that a born Punekar, my personal philosophy is that even if you win in the rat race, you end up being a rat. So the way we envisaged our
very
business.
Interesting examples you've been giving, but thank you so much.
So the way we envisage our business is not about the head count, but it is the brain count. And the way we actually understand the customer business across various industries, across various functions, learnability is something more important than what you can only keep rendering, right?
Yeah.
So maybe as a students, when we are learning so many different subjects, in school or our colleges, what is it, an ability that you get is not only that subject knowledge, but it is learnability.
Correct.
How you acquire knowledge from different subjects. So for us, every project actually it starts from scratch. When you do that whiteboarding, because it's a new customer, it is new industry, new problem to be solved. So how do you build up your innovation from ground up level? It's like, in the cooking terms, serve them fresh and serve them hot.
Okay.
So the data business is actually all about that.
Okay. So, you just spoke about like academia also. What is the role that academia plays? Because you've been very connected to academics while running both these companies. What is the role academics plays in this journey of yours?
Well, again, that's a very interesting question because when I decided to hang up my boots in a corporate career and become a first generation entrepreneur, at that stage I was at a crossroad. And whether to go for technology-led entrepreneurship or to go in academia. Because I have been a professor in practice, and right from the beginning, education field also was quite fascinating, and I have been involved in that right from the beginning. But when I realized that as my career and what can be probably my value-added contribution, or maybe as an individual, how you would like to be remembered as your legacy, I thought that probably being a first generation entrepreneur has more potential, and hence I ventured into building a data business, or a business of, now in this context, artificial intelligence. But that business is actually, intelligence is more to do with learning, right? And I always say this, that today we are in the era where software is writing the code in itself, and machines are learning.
Yeah.
And we as consumers are actually behind the devices, seeking the benefits of these automation.
Correct.
Now, if you put these things in context, today what we are doing is that helping machines learn. But what is also more important is that how do you build the learning communities for a knowledge society? That learning community comes first.
Okay.
And if you want to build up that learning community first, how do you understand democratization of knowledge? And whether it is data literacy programs, or whether it is bringing in the subject specific knowledge so that you stay ahead of the curve as a competition, whether you are solution provider or you are consumer as a company or your government, everybody is in knowledge business now. And knowledge quest can happen only when you build up a very effective learning culture.
Okay.
So with that philosophy, when I realized the challenges on hand as a first generation entrepreneur, is it's not only about you being knowledgeable or a tech savvy that can help you in building some product, but if the business has to be lasting, there needs to be an institutionalized learning culture.
Okay.
And with a simple philosophy that entrepreneur journey always starts from I, and then it lands up as a we.
Correct.
So when you define that we, what should be the spread of that? So it's like a prism. When you actually have an angle of elevation, you cover more of the focus in the arc, right?
Well,
so we realize that it is not only developing a knowledge management culture in the organization, but what is in our supply chain. Where do you hire the raw talent? Where does your customer is hiring the raw talent, or how they want to upskill, cross-skill their people, and how they want to build a future ready workforce. Now when you understand it in that context, as a technology innovation company, we align with academia to amplify that effect.
Okay.
Because if you are thinking within four walls that how can I make my team more competent, there's one approach. But if I want to take that same mission to also create a societal impact, then it is social change is a team sport. You alone can't do it. So how do you identify the right stakeholders, and rather than being competitive, how you become collaborative?
Yeah.
So that is also the reason why we work with several leading IITs as well as universities in the academic programs, research programs, very specific to the data, AI, machine learning and analytics related technologies.
I mean, the way you are, the passion with which you speak about academics right now, like, very well states why you are so connected to the academia field. So thank you for providing those insights. So now we spoke about Intellimint. Let's go to a little bit of democratizing data science, right? What was the rationale behind forming one more data analytics company? Because Intellimint is from the same field, right?
Yeah.
And Rubiscape was found like 15 years after Intellimint. So what was the rationale? What was your thought process behind starting a new company, Rubiscape? And I mean, just the rationale would help all of us understand why the second entrepreneurial journey started there.
Right. Well, that's again very good question. Many times people ask that why you thought that these are two approaches. Incidentally, when Intellimint was in its sweet 16s, a perfect teenage as an organization, I thought that Intellimint is basically a solutions and analytics outsourcing company.
Correct.
That is where we have built up our legacy from scratch. But when you want to build a tech product company, and those seeds actually were sown in Intellimint's Intelli Labs. So we had an innovation lab where we were doing a lot of research and development, product innovation, solution accelerators, and building frameworks for our customers. and that was going parallel. So what happens is that when you want to translate your knowledge from, say, a platforming innovation in the data context, there has been a tremendous dire need for good unified tech products in that space.
Okay.
And almost being there in this business for 2 decades, when we worked on some of the leading cutting edge tools and platforms, we realized that they are silos. There are lots of fragmented islands that are being created, and some tools are really good, but because they work in isolation, there was no unification that was happening. So what happened is, I still remember some of our early days brainstorming sessions, and when we were going on the whiteboards for innovation, that how can we disrupt? So one of the foundational block was to reimagine the way data science led artificial intelligence can be built up. So to give you that context, if you look at the data source to data impact or outcome, if you look at this entire life cycle, what happens is, first you look at the data acquisition, then you are looking at data storage, engineering, enrichment. Once your data is enriched, then you are looking at exploration, how you can identify the patterns and correlation, then build your machine learning or deep learning models, then train these models with your hypothesis, retrain them with supervised, unsupervised or reinforced learning, and then publish these models and create the outputs or visualization and presentation layer. So if you look at these 5-6 stages, there are tools that are actually being built as fragmented silos. That actually gives me brings me to the simple example. Few decades back, in consumer appliances, we had something called as a semi-automatic washing machine. So how they will perform is that you will wash the clothes in one bucket, pick that and put that into another rinsing bucket where it will dry, right? So if you see that there is a manual intervention, it is a slow process. It is also calling you to be there to operate that while you are doing, maybe 30-40 minutes of washing the clothes kind of a, activity. So
human in the loop, basically.
That's right. More than human, it is basically a part solution is never a solution.
Correct.
Now think about it, is that if you have, say, front loading fully automatic washing machine which also has the dryer and without a stink when you're doing running a drying operation. So the solution is that even if morning 8 o'clock you want to leave for office, you just put all the clothes in the washing machine and just switch it on and go to office. When you are back, not only your clothes are washed and dried without a stink, they have stayed the whole day. You simply put them out of washing machine and put them into a laundry bag for an Iron Man. So that is the solution. So what we did was, innovation not necessarily will happen only from your own technical way of thinking of software or hardware. So we borrowed this innovation from some of the world-class innovative examples, and we said that, okay, how can we build in that sense a fully automatic machine that can do everything end to end.
Okay.
So we reimagined, and all the toolkits that we have built up
in IntelliMint,
it's like building an office productivity application suite. They were built for specific personas and purpose, right? But if you look at, there were so many things which are common there, say create a file, copy, paste, open. So you have toolbar, taskbar, property menus and all of that. So many of the suite of applications, they have common features and functions.
Okay.
So when we went to drawing board, what we did was that for an entire end-to-end data science lifecycle management, what are the toolkits that are required? What could be the common functions? What can be the unique functions? Started building that into one single architecture, led a single source code.
Okay.
And then using microservices architecture, start rendering that into one single front end. Okay. So if you think that what is innovation, it is not doing different things, but it is doing things differently. What we are helping our users achieve, and the users can be students, data scientists, citizen data scientists, anybody, in the value chain for that matter, is that they get one single box, one single machine, which is an intelligence machine that helps them right from data acquisition to, enrichment to exploration to presentation in one single software source code.
Okay.
What it helps you achieve first is that your computational needs and infrastructure is highly optimized because you are doing everything out of one single software.
Correct.
The second is that in the entire value chain, your data pipelines are much more faster, at least 3x to 5x, because you can do everything into one single software, right? And then when you're actually looking at from source to impact point of view, and when, say for example, you're a functional person, whether it is in a finance or a marketing, you know your data better. What you need is an ability with a good self-service tools, like a low-code platform,
to get an insight out of that data.
Yeah, which can help you do the experimentation.
Correct.
And simple drag drop and generate some queries, run that, push that into machine learning models, helping you in creating and validating your hypothesis and creating a presentation layer.
Okay.
Right? And that is where the automation helps. So when we went to innovation based practices followed by the best practices for applying design thinking, what we did was we actually have put together say 5 to 8 tools or different servers into one single software.
Okay.
And that gives us an ability to reimagine the way you envisage your artificial intelligence data pipelines or workloads.
Got it.
That is what Rubiscape is all about.
Okay.
Now, when you want to do that, I realize that our focus of our teams as well as customer priorities and all of that, sometimes it becomes a bit challenging to keep doing everything under a R&D division.
Okay.
Right? There's a very famous philosophy where एक पेड़ के छाव के नीचे दूसरा पेड़ बढ़ नहीं सकता.
Okay. And
So
that's where you
the innovation was also calling that it needed little more dedicated focus.
And that's where you formed a new entity out of Rubiscape.
Well, I mean, that was not only the reason, but one of the prime reason was we truly wanted to build an Indian technology for the global markets.
Correct.
And at the same time, Digital India was actually, doing a lot of innovative, impactful things. And the Digital India Startup Program was launched by Government of India. And we thought that for our product journey, this is the best vehicle for us to onboard in this journey. So if India has to become a superpower, what can we contribute as citizens and the corporate companies? At the same time, if Digital India is rising, how can we build tech products that actually strengthens the Indian digital ecosystem? And hence we incorporated Rubiscape under Digital India Startup Program.
Okay. So we just spoke about why Rubiscape was found, right? And what is the thought process of creating Rubiscape. So why was there a need of this AI platform, and how do you see this this race of everybody running behind AI, and how is this ecosystem changing? What has Rubiscape as a let's say a data platform created in this race?
Sure. Actually, if you look at the human history which has evolved, and when we talk about in today's context artificial intelligence, which is a branch of data science, so that's not new. If you actually look at the mid 60s and 70s, the data science was defined as a branch of mathematics and statistics. Computerization came in little later on, and the first time, if I get it right, the term machine learning was developed in late 70s, right? So these technologies, techniques have been there, but with the era of computerization and internet, populating it more globally, the way we actually saw the applications and usage of technology-led data generation, that actually has spinned off this AI revolution. And I'm saying AI revolution because there is a human evolution, which is an incremental slow going, and AI revolution in last few years, and what is likely to happen next 10 years is going to be revolutionizing every aspect of our life.
Okay.
Not only about enterprises or businesses. So how do we live in today's society is we are connected and we are digitally connected.
Okay.
So people are connected to machines, machines are connected to devices, devices are connected back to people, and this is a whole ecosystem. So we talk about internet of everything, and that is the foundational block of the data. Now what happens is that first it actually starts from information, and when you categorize the information and then start exploring it as a data, it leads to data science. And then when you want to further accelerate that, then there is a need and potential for artificial intelligence.
Okay.
So in today's context, if I have to give you an example of one of the very popular AI use case or an application that all of us use is the GPTs.
Yeah.
Right? And let me give you the context. So do you know, if you have to process the information that Chat GPT has stored, and in real time for every your query it is processing, what is that volume of information stored inside the GPT application? Any guess? If you have to, or simply speaking, if you have to read all the information that GPT server has stored inside, how much time you will take to read it?
I'm not sure.
Let me help you.
Yeah.
At least 3,000 years.
Whoa.
So you can imagine that if we are processing the data in real time, which will take for an human to read it constantly for 3,000 plus years, you get the response to that query in few seconds. So the information is already stored there.
Okay.
The way in which you are processing the information and presenting it to the consumer is by using technology and massive parallel data processing.
Yeah.
So understand, it is when we talk about the digital tech and AI has right now artificial intelligence.
Okay.
And it is a artificial general intelligence. It is going to take some time to reach there.
Yeah. AGI.
So what it actually does today is that it is reproducing your information with the synthesis faster using computational techniques.
Okay.
And then there are also debates that are going on. Will AI replace the humans? Certainly not, because today your AI in today's context is only giving you the faster processing of information.
It's augmenting us, not, it's nowhere. So it's like machines, right? They
Absolutely.
augmented us. They didn't replace us.
If you in true sense see that creativity, problem solving, empathy are still the rare commodities for artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And these are human skills.
Correct.
But if you want to automate your repetitive task, it's like an information retrieval. You don't want, you don't have 3,000 years to read something and give the answers to. So those kind of things can be automated. Now what you have to do is that rethink, reimagine and reapply your knowledge or your ideas by using these computational resources.
Okay.
So it's realignment, right? If you look at any industry example for that matter, right? Probably even Graham Bell, when he invented the phone, he probably never imagined that one day there will be a cellular phone, there will be a smartphone, and then people will simply scan the QR code and they'll make the payment gateway, right? Okay. So you see in the evolution of, say, telephony, that how last few years it has disrupted and how we as living societies have recalibrated ourselves by using and applying these technologies in real life.
Correct.
Whether it is computerization in Indian context, there was a fear in public sector that we'll lose our jobs. Of course, some jobs were automated and shifted, but you realize that so many new jobs and new opportunities were created.
We evolved to the new ecosystem and humans evolved with machines, right?
Absolutely. Now, why the AI revolution and how we can thrive in these challenging times. Now, if you look at last 5 years, a lot of things have happened. And if you actually look at the historic lockdowns that were, due to the COVID pandemic, that has one of the major reason for tech acceleration and adoption. And where industry would have reached in 10-15 years, that actually happened in less than 2 years because of the lockdown, because that gave people a reality check that if there is a lockdown and people are locked inside their homes, they can't go out, they can't go to offices, they can't go to the factories, how pharmaceutical factories will operate. And that comes in as remote quality monitoring. How your plants are also working 24/7. that actually start bringing in visual quality inspection.
New avenues
type
of
things.
digitization, right?
Absolutely. If you are a bank giving cash to the citizens so that they can go in the market and spend on their purchases, right? Imagine that when you are locked down, you actually gave that digital acceleration. That sitting at home, you are actually ordering on the OTT platforms. They are being delivered through the digital e-logistics and e-commerce kind of a business models. And then even when you are locked in your homes, you actually started the online meetings for celebrations. The spirit of humanity was not stopped.
Yeah.
But we started amplifying, augmenting that through the digital ways.
Correct.
Now what happened after that, when the market started opening up, then people understood that there is a huge appetite and potential for digitization that can make certain things more predictable and on ongoing basis. And hence suddenly what we would have achieved in next probably 8-10 years, we started achieving that in less than 2 years horizon.
Correct.
And hence digitization leading to AI is very logically interconnected.
Okay.
And hence when you look at the artificial intelligence, it's not just another branch of computer sciences, it's actually the horizontal.
Okay.
AI is in almost every walks of life. Whether it is consumers, citizen services, whether it is your appetite for learning, your work across any industry, any function, profession. Even if you remember the address by our Honorable Prime Minister at the recent AI International Conference that happened in France, or even our State Chief Minister during his address at the NASSCOM's NTLF annual conference,
Yes.
they were actually speaking like a tech company CEO. And constantly while I was listening to both these speeches, I was smiling and they were actually putting a smile on my face. I said, for the first time, we are experiencing the government at a center or a state level is thinking and moving faster than the tech community or enterprises.
Yeah, which is very surprising, right?
And they are talking about creating a conducive atmosphere for the AI infrastructure. Yeah. And all related policies, all related investments, so that how can India become a power in AI ecosystem. What industry was really aiming at and looking at, that how India can become a global AI talent supplier.
Yeah.
But with this government approach coming in, it is actually helping us in revolutionizing that India can become the AI infrastructure enabler.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why so many GCCs are coming to India.
Not just outsourcing, but now talking about really building something.
Absolutely.
In-house, right?
So if you look at the outsourcing pyramid, it actually started with the back office operations and some basic IT services and ADM and the testing, QA and augmenting people, right?
Yeah.
That has moved to innovation, R&D, product development, and now AI, which is actually futuristic. Now, why suddenly GCCs are looking at India is also because of the geopolitical stability. What can be the potential constraint is that if we are not been able to scale up to providing the AI infrastructure with the data sovereignty, when we talk about the AI ethics and things like that, and the entire ecosystem, we will lag behind in the race. Okay. So when we talk about the entire AI ecosystem, government with its India AI initiative is actually doing things fast and furious compared to what was happening in Indian tech community. And it is not only giving some policy level support to the community, but they are stepping one step ahead. Okay. When you look at Digital India, various program initiatives, whether it is India's digital public infrastructure, led some of the schemes like UPI or DBTs or so many different kinds of applications, UIDs and the Digi Yatras of the world, and what is emerging as also the e-health IoT initiative by Ayush Ministry. So look at the digital adoption and acceleration by government push.
Yeah.
And they are doing it far better and superior, not only than what tech community is doing, but they are really becoming challengers to world leaders In that sense, India has its own currency, India has its own payment gateway, India has its own credit line that is being sent, set on the digital payment gateways. So that is, marching towards the self-reliance, and that is the true spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat in that sense.
True.
And that brings us to the close of part 1 of our conversation. We've heard about Dr. Prashant Pansare's remarkable journey as an accidental entrepreneur and the hurdles he overcame. Join us in part 2 where we'll continue this fascinating discussion, diving into digital India, the nation's growth, and Dr. Pansare's insights on these critical developments. You won't want to miss it. Stay tuned.